The air on Carthos 7 tasted like iron and ash, a constant reminder that this world existed for one purpose alone: spectacle through suffering. The arena stretched across the horizon like a colossal crater forged by ancient gods, its walls rising in jagged black curves that shimmered in the twin suns. The stands above swarmed with thousands of alien spectators whose voices blended into a single vibrating roar. Colorful banners pulsed with shifting holographic symbols, projecting the dominance of the Zalcor dominion. Marcus Hale stepped off the prisoner skiff with his hands locked in energy cuffs, wrists stinging from hours of transport. Sand whipped across the landing pads as armored guards dragged prisoners out one by one. Most stumbled, beaten, and starved. Marcus didn't stumble. He walked with steady, measured steps that instantly drew unwanted attention. A horned reptilian guard jabbed him in the back with a shock rod. "Move, mammal! The crowd wants blood." Marcus didn't respond. He kept his expression blank, suppressing the instinct to study the guard's weapon more closely. A calm facade mattered more than pride. He had been captured 2 nights earlier during a covert reconnaissance mission near a Dominion listening post. A moment of bad luck. An ambush. A lost squad. A failure he refused to replay now. The guards shoved the new captives toward a lift encased in metal lattice. As it descended into the inner arena complex, Marcus quietly catalogued every detail: patrol patterns, weapon holsters, door access panels, vent shafts, and structural weak points. Nothing was useless information. Everything was potential leverage. The lift opened into a dimly lit preparation bay carved beneath the arena floor. Dozens of gladiators waited in holding cages, hulking insectoids, scaled warriors, hulking avians with scarred wings. All glanced at Marcus with amusement or pity. Humans rarely lasted more than a minute in the arena. A guttural voice rang from above. "Bring the earth creature forward." On a raised platform stood Warlord Crothall, arena master of Carthos 7. His armor glistened like obsidian soaked in oil, and his 4 burning eyes narrowed as guards forced Marcus into the light. Beside him, a smaller advisor with pale blue skin studied a data tablet. Crothall flicked a clawed finger. "This is the human? Small. Soft. Barely worth a warm-up." The advisor tapped his screen. "The records say he's from Sol 3. Labor caste. No military value." Marcus kept his gaze forward. His breathing steady. His pulse calm. He allowed them to see only what he chose: another expendable prisoner. Crothall smirked. "Send him into the opening match. The audience enjoys watching fragile species snap." 2 guards seized Marcus by the arms and hauled him toward the arched gate leading to the arena floor. The metal grate lifted with a harsh shriek. Sunlight poured in, blinding him for a moment. Heat blasted his face as he stepped into the sand. The crowd roared when the announcer amplified his voice across the colossal dome. "Behold the human known as Marcus Hale! Prepare for a swift and pitiful display." A second gate lowered opposite him. 3 Graktoth warriors lumbered out, each towering twice his height, armored in bone plates. Their jaws clicked in anticipation. Marcus studied them as they advanced: weight distribution, limb angles, breathing pace. Every movement telegraphed intent. They carried curved cleavers designed to shear through softer species with ease. One charged first, raising his blade for a crushing overhead strike. Marcus shifted aside with precise timing, letting the blade slam into the sand. He drove a sharp elbow into the creature's exposed throat. The Graktoth collapsed, choking violently. The crowd fell quieter. The second warrior lunged. Marcus swept its leg, forcing it off balance, and kicked the back of its knee joint. Bone snapped. The alien crashed down. Marcus snatched its dropped cleaver and hurled it into the chest of the third warrior. The impact sank deep, sending the creature staggering before collapsing entirely. Silence rippled across the stands. Marcus stepped back, breathing controlled, eyes scanning for additional threats. The fight had lasted less than 10 seconds. Far above, Crothall leaned forward, stunned. "Impossible. Humans can't." The advisor's eyes widened. "Look at his movements. There, too calculated. Guards rushed into the arena to retrieve Marcus, expression shifting from arrogance to uncertainty. As one grabbed his arm, the man's torn shirt peeled further, exposing the ink across his left shoulder. Crothall froze. The tattoo, an obsidian black phoenix rising from a burning star, seemed almost alive under the harsh sunlight. The emblem marked warriors of a unit believed erased from history. Stories of them destroying entire Dominion battalions circulated like old ghost tales. The advisor inhaled sharply. Warlord, that symbol. Crothall's tone dropped. Explain. It matches the Phoenix Corps insignia. Terran Directorate. Special Operations. But they vanished decades ago. Archives sealed. Crothall's eyes gleamed with a mixture of fear and hunger. If this one is truly Phoenix Corps, capturing him is worth more than a fleet. Marcus kept his eyes forward, acting unaware of their shift in tone. Inside, a single thought sharpened his focus. They recognized the tattoo. That meant danger. Torture. Extraction. A threat to Earth itself. The guards shoved him toward the lift, but their hands trembled slightly now. Marcus lowered his gaze, scanning their belts. One carried a utility pouch loosely clipped. Inside the flap, a broken spear tip glinted faintly. Perfect size for a lockpick or a key to freedom. He fell slightly forward, letting his weight shift toward the guard. Watch him! The guard barked. Marcus stumbled deliberately, feigning exhaustion, and brushed the pouch. His fingers closed around the shard for an instant, long enough to slide it under his cuff without a sound. The guard shoved him upright again. Pathetic. Marcus didn't reply. He allowed them to drag him inside the lift, while the crowd above buzzed with a mix of awe and confusion. When the doors sealed, Crothall looked down from his throne, voice rumbling through the comm speakers. Prepare the human for the execution games. I want the galaxy to witness his end. Marcus lifted his head, eyes calm and observant. He had memorized half the arena's structure already. The rest would come soon enough. The lift descended into darkness. He exhaled once, slow and silent. The shard pressed lightly against his wrist. Escape was now possible. And the arena didn't yet understand the truth. They hadn't thrown in a victim. They had unleashed a phoenix. The interrogation chamber smelled of coolant and scorched metal, the byproducts of endless cruelty carried out behind sealed doors. Marcus sat chained to a reinforced chair, the cold surface biting into his skin. A dim overhead strip flickered, casting brief shadows across the armored figure looming in front of him. Warlord Crothall paced slowly, claws scraping the floor with each deliberate step. His armor segments shifted with metallic murmurs, echoing his agitation. The tattoo on Marcus's shoulder seemed to hold his attention more than the man himself. Crothall stopped inches away. Tell me what that symbol means. Marcus lifted his eyes calmly. Decoration. The warlord leaned closer, breath heavy with chemical stimulants. A phoenix rising from flame isn't decoration. It's a threat. Interpret it however you like. Marcus's tone remained level, almost casual. Crothall slammed a hand onto the chair, denting its frame. I do not tolerate insolence. Marcus didn't flinch. Then don't ask questions you're not prepared to hear ignored. The warlord stepped back, uncertain whether to strike or listen. His advisor, the pale blue Yurik, entered through a sliding door, clutching a crystal data tablet. Warlord, Yurik said, voice tinged with unease. I access sealed archives. The tattoo matches an insignia restricted by Dominion intelligence. It appears in reports regarding destroyed fleets. Mass casualties. No survivors. Crothall's eyes sharpened. Extinct legends. Nothing more. Yurik shook his head. The symbol was found on hull fragments drifting after the Erascan conflict. Analysis suggested human involvement. Marcus stayed silent, observing their debate. Crothall turned to him again. Are you one of those ghosts? A weapon disguised as a man? Marcus smiled faintly. You didn't answer my first question. What do you think it means? The warlord snarled but forced himself to breathe. It means you are valuable. Alive, you are information. Knowledge of your species' secrets could shift power across systems. Marcus inclined his head. You assume I'll talk. You assume you have a choice. Crothall countered. A sharp tone sounded from the chamber's wall panel. The announcer's voice echoed through the room. Execution games begin in 1 hour. The audience demands spectacle. Crothall grinned. Excellent. Let us see how long your defiance lasts. Guards unlatched Marcus's restraints and dragged him through a corridor filled with humming machinery and faint screams drifting from distant cells. They marched him into the Gladiator holding bay, where he was locked into a reinforced enclosure separate from the others. A single barred window overlooked the arena floor. Marcus sat on the bench, testing the weakened section of his cuff with the spear tip he'd hidden beneath his wrist strap earlier. The metal scrape was soft enough to be lost in the distant roar of the audience above. He paused when a voice whispered from the neighboring cell. You! Human! Marcus glanced sideways. A gaunt insectoid with luminescent eyes studied him. You fought well today, it said. But you won't defeat what's coming. I don't plan to die, Marcus replied. No one plans to, the creature murmured. The Titan is different. Marcus said nothing but stored the warning away. Seconds later, the gate to his cell clanged open. 2 guards seized him and escorted him through a narrow tunnel that sloped upward toward the blinding light. The execution games were designed to break legends, not honor them. When Marcus stepped into the arena, the world erupted in sound. Fire spires burst along the perimeter. Tower shields lowered from the rafters. Thousands chanted with feverish hunger. The ground trembled beneath him. A gate twice the size of the others opened, releasing a massive creature that towered above the audience. The Titan's armor plates resembled fused stone. Its thick limbs ended in razor-like claws. A glowing neural core pulsed along its spine, an exposed vulnerability masked by its sheer mass. The crowd roared as it bellowed. Marcus lowered his stance and assessed everything: stride pattern, weight transfer, the rhythm of its breaths. Weaknesses always existed. Identifying them defined survival. Crothall's voice amplified through the speakers. Behold a creature that has slain champions from 7 systems. Let the human's myth end here. The Titan charged. Marcus sprinted sideways as a claw slammed into the sand, sending debris flying. He zigzagged, using the creature's slow turning speed to stay near its blind edge. Every second mattered. Every movement required purpose. The Titan swiped again. Marcus ducked beneath the massive arm and darted toward its back leg. With a precise jump, he seized a protruding ridge along the armor. The creature roared, twisting violently, trying to throw him off. Marcus climbed faster, gripping whatever small holds he found. The neural core pulsed brightly ahead, its power source, control center, and weakness. The Titan flung itself against a stone pillar, shattering the structure. Marcus narrowly avoided the impact, using the momentum to propel himself onto the creature's upper back. He drew the spear tip from his cuff, gripped it tightly, and drove it into the exposed glowing cluster where the armor separated. The Titan's roar cracked the arena air. Marcus twisted the shard deeper, forcing a surge of energy to destabilize the creature's balance. Its legs buckled. It staggered in circles, crushing several minor obstacles before collapsing in a thunderous crash that shook the entire floor. Dust settled as silence swept across the stands. Marcus stood atop the fallen creature, breathing steadily, gaze locked on Crothall's throne. Only after several seconds did the crowd erupt again, this time not with mockery, but fear. Yurik whispered urgently into Crothall's ear. This is not a primitive. This is a soldier trained to dismantle armies. The warlord clenched the railing of his platform. If we kill him, we lose a strategic advantage. If we keep him alive, he becomes a symbol. His gaze hardened. He must be broken privately, not made a martyr. Marcus stepped down from the creature, eyes sharp and calculating. He had measured enough of the arena's structure to plan his escape. The guards approached cautiously now, their earlier arrogance replaced by dread. They escorted him back toward the tunnels, careful to maintain distance. The moment the gate sealed behind him, Marcus whispered under his breath. One chance. One window. The shard pressed against his wrist again. The arena believed the games had tested him. They had only prepared him. The holding corridor hummed with the low vibration of arena machinery powering down for the night. Every door lock, every drone charging bay, every wall panel emitted a faint pulse that echoed through the metal structure. The Dominion believed their systems infallible. Marcus had spent the past hours memorizing those patterns. He sat alone on the bench, head lowered, wrists cuffed to the reinforced bar behind him. The shard hidden in his sleeve pressed against his skin, waiting for a moment that inch by inch drew closer. Bootsteps approached. 2 guards passed by, speaking in a rough dialect. Crothall wants the human moved to the extraction wing, one said. Before dawn? The other asked. He's afraid the symbol draws attention. Wants answers soon. They moved on. Marcus exhaled slowly, letting their words settle. Extraction meant interrogation deeper and darker than before. He couldn't allow himself to reach that room. The lights dimmed for the nightly power cycle. For 3 seconds the entire underground system dropped to a lower output. 3 seconds of weakened security fields. 3 seconds where electronic locks slowed by a fraction. He whispered, "Now." With a quick twist of his wrist, he forced the shard between the cuffs and the anchor. A precise angle. A single sharp push. The weakened joint snapped. He stepped forward, slipping free soundlessly. Marcus moved toward the gate, pressing his fingers to the access plate he'd observed countless times. During the power dip, the sensor lagged, just enough for him to wedge the shard into the seam and pry the manual release. The gate slid open an inch. He pulled it wider and slipped through. The lower tunnel stretched long and empty, illuminated by blue emergency strips. The walls were lined with weapon lockers, crates of arena props, and maintenance drones stacked for recharge. He avoided open paths, staying tight to shadows. A pair of guards turned into the corridor ahead. Marcus hid behind a crate until they passed. As they walked by, one muttered, "That beast's fight wasn't natural. No human does that." His partner shuddered. "If it was that core, we shouldn't be keeping him alive." Marcus moved only when their voices faded. He reached a security checkpoint, one he'd studied through narrow gaps during his earlier marches. The door was locked behind an energy grid. During full power, it would be impossible. The cycle dipped again. Marcus tapped a wall panel, causing a brief static surge he timed perfectly with the declining grid strength. He rolled under the flickering barrier as it weakened for half a second. The moment he landed on the other side, the energy field snapped back to full intensity. He advanced deeper until the corridor widened. Voices echoed. Crothall stood with Yurik and 6 armored gladiator elites at the central control hub overlooking the arena. The platform curved outward, giving a full view of the empty battleground below. The Titan's corpse still lay where it fell, now surrounded by repair drones. Crothall's voice carried across the room. "Prepare the elite unit. He will attempt escape soon. I want him captured alive and brought straight to the extraction wing." Marcus stepped forward, no longer hiding. "You predicted correctly." Their heads snapped toward him. Crothall's jaw tightened. "You escaped your cage." "I walked out," Marcus replied. "Seize him!" Crothall barked. The 6 elites surged forward with synchronized precision, plasma halberds igniting in sweeping arcs. Marcus moved before the first blade landed. He slid past the closest attacker, grabbing the halberd shaft, twisting hard enough to snap the warrior off balance. A ruthless elbow took him down. The remaining 5 attacked in flawless formation. Marcus used a dropped halberd to deflect high strikes, ducking underneath one and driving the butt of the weapon into an exposed joint. He seized another by the throat and slammed him into a support pillar. Sparks showered the corridor as a blade collided with a power conduit, darkening half the room. Crothall roared, "You are one man." Marcus cut him off between breaths. "That's all I need to be." 2 attackers remained. They lunged together, aiming to trap Marcus between crossing blades. He slid between them, spun, and drove a halberd into the control panel beside the viewing window. The glass shattered, creating an opening leading down toward the arena floor. Marcus kicked the last warrior through the break. The body plummeted and hit the sand below with a sickening thud. He jumped after him, rolling as he landed to absorb the fall. The arena lights blazed on as alarms screamed across the facility. Crothal's amplified voice thundered overhead. "Activate the beasts! Deploy drones! Don't let him escape!" Mechanical gates burst open around the arena perimeter. Auto turrets emerged from the ground. Drones descended from the rafters, their thrusters whining. 2 mechanized hounds sprinted across the sand, metal claws slicing through dust clouds. Marcus didn't hesitate. He sprinted toward a pillar, using debris to reach its lower ridges. A drone fired a burst. He ducked, grabbed the remains of a broken spear from the earlier match, and vaulted higher. When another drone zipped close, Marcus slashed through its grav node. The machine spiraled into the sand. The hounds charged. Marcus leapt down, rolling beneath their pounce. He stabbed the spear shard into the first hound's neck joint. It collapsed, sparking violently. The second lunged. Marcus grabbed its snout mid-jump, using its momentum to flip it onto its back before driving the shard into its exposed processor housing. Only silence followed. The arena lights flickered, revealing Crothall descending on a grav platform, armor upgraded and reinforced, carrying a massive plasma great axe shaped for ritual combat. He landed with a heavy thud. "You humiliate my arena! You defied the Dominion! You will die slowly!" Marcus faced him, unarmed except for the shard. "I don't have time for speeches." Crothall charged, great axe swinging in a blistering arc. Marcus dodged by inches, sand erupting beside him as the blade struck the ground. He closed in, forcing the fight into tight quarters where the large weapon became cumbersome. Crothall used brute strength. Marcus used timing. A miss-swing. A redirected strike. Momentum building toward a single opening. Marcus seized the haft of the great axe, twisted his body, and used the warlord's own force to drive the blade into the sand. Crothall stumbled. Marcus pivoted and delivered a strike to the warlord's throat with enough force to break balance. Crothall dropped to one knee. Marcus held the great axe, pinning the warlord in place. "You should have left Earth alone." He shoved the blade deeper into the ground beside Crothall's head, not killing him, leaving him motionless, defeated, and humiliated. Marcus sprinted toward the maintenance exit on the far side of the arena. He reached the shuttle bay seconds later, commandeered a Dominion craft, and launched into the night sky. Alarms echoed behind him. The planet shrank away. He uploaded falsified data into Dominion channels as the shuttle cleared atmosphere. A coded Terran transmission pulsed through space. Moments later, a concealed Terran outpost welcomed him into its hangar. When Marcus stepped out, fellow Phoenix operators greeted him with a silent salute. He looked at the star map glowing before him: Dominion borders, Terran hideouts, unresolved conflicts. "The galaxy is awake now," he said quietly. "And it's their turn to be afraid."